Hey mate, how are you?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
Good. Is this thing on? My camera's not working.
Camera's
There
not
we
going.
go.
There it is.
Hold on, give me 1 second. Let me
You're
get
good,
this
man. Take
looking
your time.
all nice and proper. Might
Uh,
open up this window a little bit more. There we go. Oh,
gotta
that's
gotta set
better.
the gotta set the aesthetic up with the reds.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. There. See, that's much better. That's much better. How you
Hell
going, man? You
yeah.
all right?
I'm good, man. I'm very good. How about yourself?
Good, good. Busy, but good. Good is busy, and busy is good.
I tell you what, busy's what I was about to get into. So I'm just gonna literally just kick straight in. You've had a pretty busy couple of weeks, my friend, doing Monolith
Yeah,
and all that kind of stuff. So I actually I was actually one of the guys that asked a question at the Brisbane show, which
I feel
was
like I remember this. Yes.
yeah, because I asked a question about how they distinguish what they keep for the side projects versus what, well, Periphery is
Yeah,
obviously who we're talking about, but
yeah.
how they distinguish
I
what they
do
keep
remember
for the
that
side
question.
projects.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was me. So, with that whole workshop experience and kind of getting to be part of that, how did that all come about? Because that's kind of like a really cool opportunity.
Yeah, so I'm under Destroyer Lines as like an artist, and my booking agents with Destroyer Lines, and got an offer, and it wasn't a show offer, it was a masterclass offer, to do like or a workshop offer rather, do a workshop at Monolith. And as soon as I saw the poster with all the bands on there, I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever because I'm like such a big prog fan. And a lot of my favorite bands were on that too. And it was me to do my own workshop, which I did over the Monolith dates. And then there was a conversation opened up whether, Periphery would facilitate their own or if they would want like some sort of like MC or just like interviewer to just kind of like get the ball rolling and ask them questions, which since that was like up for grabs, I was like, I'll do it. Like I was so happy to do it. But yeah, that's pretty much how it came about. And then from there, it was just designing questions for it. And then yeah, every city, just doing the workshop with Periphery and basically just asking them a very broad question and just letting them talk amongst themselves, which was a very cool experience for sure.
That's it. The boys seem are really chatty, which is kind of cool. It kind of takes the pressure off you a little bit to kind of, I guess, feel like you have to keep the conversation rolling and stuff. But no, they were really fun live. So
Yeah,
not only with the performance side, but obviously with the interview, and that's just a testament to how well that I think you did as well. So it
thank
was
you,
really
mate. I was
the
very
Brisbane one was
nervous.
really cool. I
Okay,
tell you
cool.
what,
Because like, yeah,
you
go on.
walked out and you're a bit kind of like, oh hey, how's everyone doing? And you
Yeah,
just
yeah,
by
yeah,
like
yeah.
20 minutes in, you warmed up and you were like, it was all
Yeah,
good.
it was funny because like I hadn't met them previously, like in person. It was like, there's been online interactions and stuff like that, but not so much in person. So it was literally like, oh, I met them and I was like, hey, Misha, hey, Mark, hey, Jay, hey, Spencer, let's go to the stage now, 20 seconds later, and walk out to a room of 300 people. I think that was the number that was in there, which none of us were expecting for like a workshop. You know what I mean? That's like bigger than small clubs. So,
Yeah.
that yeah, the nerves set in a little bit, but then I think once, like you said, after 10, 15, 20 minutes, then I was like, okay, I know what's happening. My body has adjusted and it felt very like free form from that point on, especially like Melbourne and Sydney. So I guess Brizzy was like kind of the warm up for that because I've
Yeah.
never done anything like that before in front of a crowd. So that was good for me as well. I liked putting myself in that position and throwing myself in the deep end a little bit. That was good.
For sure. And I think if it's any kind of like, I guess, like, thing to hype you up, when I got to the venue, the line was already down the road and around the corner for people to get into the Periphery
Yeah,
thing. Like
right.
there were so many people who were texting me being like, hey, we can't get in. Can you get us in? And I'm like, nah, suckers.
Wow.
Like
So
I'm up
it
here
went
like,
down the Fortitude Strip, is that right?
so Fortitude Strip, and then down the bottom there's like a kebab shop. Went around the corner, like back up to near the cashies, which the
Wow.
cashies is like kind of up on the other corner.
Yeah, that's
So
insane.
yeah, that
Crazy.
was that was people getting there at 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, because I think from memory it started at 2:15. So that's
Yeah,
wild. That's crazy.
yeah. But that was the amount of people that wanted to get in because they thought the Periphery thing I think might have been on the main stage, but it wasn't. It was just in the outpost up the top.
Ah, true. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
think that whole like workshop thing went over really well because that was the first time Destroyer Lines have ever done something like that on like such a big scale. So I think they'd be keen on doing it again after seeing the reception. Although, like, it is a prog festival, and a lot of prog fans like myself are a bunch of nerds who want to know what patches they're using on their axe effects and stuff like that. So it's a cool experience for everyone for sure.
Yeah, I know we're getting like way off track with what I even wanted to talk
Yeah.
about, but like Destroyer Lines just started doing stand up comedy, so like this could be
Yeah.
something that's like they're starting to kind of branch off into these things that you wouldn't necessarily think they might be do, but at the same time feels like a perfect fit. So
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
cool. So I actually became aware of you last year when you opened for Animals as Leaders.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you for
Was
coming
that
early.
was that your first ever tour of Australia? Because I know you'd played shows,
Yes.
but that's the first time you'd been out of Adelaide, right? Or
So
touring.
so that tour was the first time that the band has ever toured Australia domestically. We had, I think at that point we could have counted the amount of shows that we played on one hand, and one of them was supporting Bad Love in Melbourne at Stay Gold, and that was August 2022. And then there was like a headliner later in the year in Adelaide, but I think it was under 5 shows. I think from memory, Vadik was on that lineup as well, and Silverfang. I think it was Silverfang, Vadik, us, and then Bad Love, which was a cool little lineup at Stay Gold. But yeah, that Animals as Leaders tour was our first time like doing a run, like going around from Melbourne to Sydney to Brisbane. And I remember at the time that was so daunting, obviously, because it's Animals as Leaders, and it was, yeah, we all love Animals as Leaders, and that was like a very surreal experience. But I think looking back in hindsight, we definitely did make the most of it. It was a very fun time for sure.
Yeah. While you're talking, I just had to because I had to pull my review up because I'm like, what did I even say about that show? I didn't even think to look at it. I remember now because I'm reading it, but I just remember at the time being super impressed. And the fact to know that, again, that was less than 10 shows into the career already. Like, that show was tight. Like, it was really
Thank
good.
you, man. Thank you. And yeah, thinking back, we had that was in Brizzy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had some technical difficulties that set as well, I remember. But it's funny, like I think every time something like that happens, like in my mind, I just kind of go like, oh, fuck it, and then just like don't really care about anything. But I think we put on a better show because of it, because it's
Yeah.
just like nothing really holding us back. But yeah, thank you for saying that, man. I really do
Yeah.
appreciate that.
I remember too, because again, I didn't know any of the music. A lot of the times when I like to experience someone live for the first time, I don't go out of my way on purpose to listen to the music. I let the live show
Yeah,
talk. And you guys like ripped like a couple of songs, and then in the middle of the set was just this random cover of "Beat It," and
yeah,
like that was just. I remember sitting there, everyone because I was upstairs, everyone in the chairs was just losing it, singing along, going nuts. Like they were into
really.
it. Yeah,
Okay, I like that was weird because I feel like we added that in the set out of necessity simply because there just wasn't much music released like properly like on the back end of a catalog or anything. And I had that like I've been a Michael Jackson fan my whole life and I loved that song and I made a metal cover and I was like, "Oh, what if we like chucked a breakdown in it and like performed it live and all this stuff?" And I figured like it would be a good opportunity to win some people over who may not have heard of us before, but everyone's heard of Michael Jackson and everyone or most people like Beat It. It's funny, like I've heard both ends. I've heard people who absolutely hated that we did that, and I've heard people that have loved it. So it was a very divisive move, I think. But yeah, I think we retired it after that tour,
boo.
I think.
It's got to come. It's got to come back, man. It crushed like upstairs. Like everyone was loving it. So
Awesome. All right, that's good
yeah.
to hear.
Now, outside of obviously the music, which I'm going to get into because we're going to talk about Arrest in a little bit,
Yeah.
something else I also want to quickly shout out is you also started doing YouTube, uploading a bunch of
Yes.
videos and all that kind of stuff. For someone who has zero technical ability, it's so fun to watch you kind of break down all of this stuff. I literally have no idea about what you're talking about, but you make it engaging and you make it fun. How does the balance come with trying to balance out being technical about certain things but also making it kind of so anyone can just jump in and understand what you're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for saying that, by the way. I think as time goes on, and say there's like a video topic of like how to get the best guitar tone or something like that. As time goes on, like I'm like learning it myself, but I think the difference is now that I'm getting better at translating it to someone who might not have all like the technical background of like me saying, oh, put a high pass at 80 hertz. Do you know what I mean? Like instead, like I can figure out how to frame it in a way that makes more sense. I'm getting lost now. Sorry, what was what was the
No,
question?
it's all good. So I'm just, I guess, talking about the balance between making something that is technical and it's informative, and someone
Yeah,
who knows what they're doing can kind of like follow along and be like, oh, he's dumbing it down. I want someone who knows what they're talking about, versus someone who's kind of coming in like me, who doesn't know what
yeah.
anything does. And I can sit there and I can just watch you and like listen to you talk about it and go, oh, yeah, cool. I think I get it.
Yeah. I try my best to like go slow and talk as if it's like I'm explaining every single move, and like rather than just like, I'm sure you've seen it a million times, for example, of like a guitar tone video, like you just go into a video and someone will be like, oh, like add this low cut here, add this high cut here, turn your mids knob down to 4 and do all this stuff. But no one like I try my best to actually explain what that's doing and why that's so important to make these moves, in the hopes that, from an educational perspective, someone can watch those videos, and rather than just trying to get like a cheap fix or a cool tone straight away, they can then have a better understanding of how to apply that knowledge to other forms of amps or cabinets or whatever it is, to, especially in the digital world, like create sounds that they're happy with. And yeah, that's what I try to do, to the best of my ability.
Yeah. And like again,
Yeah.
like it shows, like I can just sit there and just I went through and watched all of them like about a year ago, what you had up at the time, or 6 months ago, whatever it was. And yeah, like it was just it's easy to follow. I don't even have a guitar and I'm just like, oh cool, this is dope.
Right. Okay. That's really
So
cool, actually. That's awesome to have that kind of hindsight, as even someone who like doesn't even have a guitar can at least be somewhat interested in what's
yeah.
going on.
Well, part of it is obviously, I guess, my interest in you specifically as a musician, because I think your music's phenomenal. But then also,
Thank
like,
you.
you've kind of got this awesome personality that then also shines through with like the guitar chats that you do. So, which is kind of my favorite thing of the channel,
Yeah.
where you're sitting down with guys like Fit for a King and Alpha Wolf, Spirit Box, and all
Yeah.
that. Is there any specific chat that you have done that you've been super proud of, or like you'd like, I can't believe I got them?
Um, Honestly, all of them, in terms of like, can't believe I've got them. No, the guitar chats are a funny one because they're very lax, in the sense that like, the whole shtick is that you should go through a PR person and email them and say, hey, I have a PR opportunity for XYZ. Would they be interested in being on a guitar chat? But I just, when I started, I didn't even know that that was a thing. So I completely bypassed that and would just message guitarists directly, and be like, hey, I have a YouTube channel. Like, do you want to be on the episode of Guitar Chat? And as time went on, and the roster grew bigger of like past guests or whatever, I could then say like, oh, Spirit Box has done one. And then people were like, oh yeah, cool. I could do one too. And then I guess that's how it kind of started. I really enjoy the guitar chats because it's different, you know what I mean? It's more so just like chilling out. Like you can stick it on while you're making your coffee in the morning and almost treat it like a podcast. The ones that I'm the most proud of are the Spirit Box one for sure. That happened a little while ago, but Mike's an awesome guy. I messaged him directly and said, hey, like, I will be in Melbourne. I said I will be in Melbourne, but really the plan was I'll go to Melbourne if he says yes. I said, I'll be in Melbourne on this day. Like, would you like to do a guitar chat? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. So I was like, oh, okay. And then I booked my flights and I went with my girlfriend. We made a trip out of it. But really, like, we did the guitar chat. And the best part about the guitar chats for me is obviously like the content that gets produced, I'm proud of, but it's more so the connections that are made with these guitars, who many of which I look up to a lot, but being able to see them in that position. And like, again, coming from the way that the guitar chat started in the first place, was just like a very candid message. Like, for example, like Spirit Box, like Mike, he took me backstage, like he was really, really friendly. We got dinner and all this stuff. And it's just cool to see that side of these musicians that are held in such a high regard, especially in the metal world, and, seeing how humble they can really be, and how accommodating they can be. That's the highlight for me, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I've kind of seen that too. Like, I've only started doing interviews back in like April or May. Like, I'm still fairly new to
Yep.
it, but even like before, like I get into a conversation with someone, or even afterwards, it's weird to like, it's that whole thing of like, I guess people get put on a pedestal, and you kind of think that they're godly or whatever. But at
Yeah,
the end of the day, they're just people. Like for
exactly right.
Monolith, I got to interview Travis from Coheed, and like I don't know
Nice.
if you can see, but like I'm a Coheed fan. I got my
Yes.
Coheed
Yeah,
shirt on.
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
man, like longtime Coheed fan, and I got to sit down and talk to Travis and hear Travis just go Lukey, and I was just like hearing that, I was like, whoa, like this is
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
surreal, man. He's an actual human being that knows. Like it's just weird,
Yeah.
But I get
Yeah,
where
yeah,
you're
yeah.
coming from, eh?
Yeah, I was gonna say just quickly, especially in this day of like parasocial kind of things where you watch someone a million times over the internet, it kind of feels like you half know them, but you don't. You know what I mean? It's a weird weird scenario, but it's cool to hear that Travis was like really friendly and super down to earth.
Yeah, he was awesome. But
Sick.
yeah, speaking of the guitar chats though, did anything get filmed for the Monolith periphery things, or is that something that might be coming in the pipeline, something different?
I didn't film any of the guitar chats. I know that a lot of people like did, on their phones in the crowd and stuff like that. The Periphery workshops rather, not the guitar chats. I didn't get an opportunity to do a guitar chat with Periphery. To be honest, I didn't really ask them, because I don't want to be a punisher, for lack of a better word. Like, I just want them to, enjoy Australia, be in their space. We're already doing the interviews together. We're spending time together. Um, I would rather do it the next time that they come down for like a headline run or something like that. Or maybe even when I go over to LA or something for NAM or something like that, if we can link something up there. I just, yeah, I felt like it wasn't the time. And even if there was, I don't think there would have been a good time to do it because on the days, like what would happen was Periphery would sound check, and then shortly after that, we'd be doing the workshop. And then after that, like I'd be setting up my workshop, and then it would be time to like watch intervals and do my workshop, and then they'd play. And there was no time really that I would have liked to sit them down and do it properly. It just would have felt rushed, and I don't want to do that. I want to have it as comfortable for them as I possibly can. So maybe next time. Maybe next
Yeah,
time.
for sure. So the reason I also kind of bring up the guitar chats is then to lead into what has become with Arrest, because my favorite episode is the one you did with Keaton from Invent Animate.
Yeah.
That was a really cool one. But I'm wondering, like, did the collab with Marcus for Arrest come off the back of that, or like, how did that all kind of connect?
Yeah, so I forgot about that one. That was a cool one too. Yeah, so that's like another prime example of, like me being a big fan of Invent Anime and being a big fan of Keaton's playing and, him just like going, oh, let's just like go back to the hotel and do it. So we were just in his hotel room doing it. And being like for him to kind of take me in as someone who he's literally never met before and be in this like very vulnerable state. That was a cool episode for sure. And definitely like from that show, I didn't have like a big conversation with Marcus at that point. I was mainly just like interacting with Keaton on and off stage. But I guess like that was the start of that relationship between me and Invent Animate, so to speak. So from there, Keaton and I kept in touch over socials after he left Australia, after the tour ended. And then, when the song came about, I inquired with Marcus directly. And I think he had like some sort of understanding that me and Keaton knew each other, me and Trey knew each other as well. And I'm sure that that definitely would have helped in getting him to be on board with dropping vocals. And then time passed, we both forgot about it, and we both got busy. And then when Invent came back to tour with Alpha Wolf just a couple months ago, that's when me, Keaton, and the rest of the band, including Marcus, like had time to, spend time at the show, and we got breakfast this morning. And then through that, I then kind of brought it up again to Marcus, like, hey, like we should finish this thing. And then he's like, yeah, we should. And then from there, it was like Discord calls over the next couple of weeks when he got back home and trying to figure it all out. Because I had the song ready and then I gave it to him thinking it was finished. I had lyrics, I had melodies, I had everything that he thought, or I thought he would have needed. And then he's like, oh, like, yeah, it's good, but can we just change this and this and this? I'm like, okay, cool. So then we actually spend time working on it, collaborating on it together, literally like over Discord, going, oh, does this melody work or does this melody work or whatever, like trying to piece every single thing together. And I'm glad we did that because it resulted in something that Marcus was happy with and like really, really happy with. And I want him to feel good about it as well. I don't want this track to seem as though it was just an instrumental that got handed to him and then he just got told to do something and then did it. It's very much is a collaborative track in that sense.
Yeah, cool. That was going to be one of my questions too. Is I guess with the lyrics and stuff, because that's not something you do. Obviously, you make much more instrumental stuff.
Yeah.
What was there any challenges with kind of writing solo and then giving it off to someone else to have them kind of tweak it and that kind of thing? Or
Yeah, for sure. So with the lyrics and stuff, I mean, yes, it was the first time that I wrote lyrics for anything, but I think being an instrumental artist and maybe just like a metal fan in general, because I kind of have this theory that maybe I'm wrong, but I think a lot of metal fans like it's like sound first, lyrics second. It's almost like people enjoy the visceral qualities and like the rhythmic nature of a lot of the screams that they hear and stuff like that. And that's what makes songs so catchy. And that's what's like drawing them in first. And then they will go listen and look at the lyrics because it's hard to understand what they're screaming most of the time. And I'm very much in that boat where it's always like the rhythmic cadence of a screaming pattern or something interwoven with the instrumentals that really catch my ears. And so much so that when it was time to like write lyrics for Arrest, I would be doing the rhythmic kind of bounce of it first without having any regard of what the lyrics were going to be. I just wanted to have like so like all the rhythmic screaming patterns in the verses and the singing melodies and all that stuff in the choruses. That was like put there without any lyrics, even like the notes of them themselves. And then it came time to write lyrics that matched like every single syllable or whatever that I would do and making sure they would all work. So that's the way that I did it this time. And I think that's the way I would do it going forward because for me, again, it's like that feeling of like when Marcus hits a high note in the chorus or something, like I at first I couldn't care what he says. I just want that note to be there and that feeling to be there more than anything. And then I had lyrics and we gave it I gave it to Marcus and we kind of like tweaked some of them. I think like 80% of them stayed and then 20% of them didn't get changed completely, but they just got maybe shifted around a little bit or maybe a word or here got changed for another word just to change with a melody or change with a rhythm that Marcus wanted and that we both worked on together.
hell yeah. So I guess
Yeah.
then talking about this song specifically, this is considered the final song in what's called the Cardiac trilogy.
Yes.
With Pulse and Arrhythmia both being instrumental tracks, as we kind of talked about before, what then inspired the change to go, okay, cool, this is the third song, let's throw lyrics on this, when lyrics are not something you really do?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted this track to be the heaviest one out of all of them, as like with the naming scheme, it kind of suggests that. And you know, with Pulse, it's definitely more like upbeat and melancholic. And then Arrest gets a little bit more sinister. And then I think that this one is the heaviest one out of all of them by far. So having, you know, the title be Arrest and having it be the heaviest one so far, I thought it would be a good opportunity to kind of like symbolize that with some sort of change or, you know, something dying and being reborn. So having vocals on this track was a deliberate decision in the sense that, you know, this could mark the turning point for me and my music in regards to like having vocals or not having vocals. Like I can choose to do it or I can choose to not do it. And that is like signified through the track name and the song itself.
I think that's interesting too, because like with being just a fan of prog in general myself, a lot of instrumental bands, especially recently, kind of get that Polyphia comparison, and Polyphia have started doing stuff with lyrics, and like I feel like the lyrics work on a song sparingly when it comes to their music, and like I think
Yeah.
like when I heard Arrest, I'm like when Marcus's vocals kicked in because I didn't actually know anyone was singing on it. I just threw the song because I was like, oh sweet, new Keyan song,
True.
and I heard words, and I'm like, what is going on? But and then I saw it was Marcus, and I'm like, oh my god, this rules. I
Yeah,
think that
sick.
kind of the gimmick of the lyric in an instrumental track kind of needs to be used sparingly, and I think in this instance specifically, it's paid off big time because I think not only is this the heaviest track, but this is the best track of the three. And not to say the other
Thank
two
you.
are anything bad, like they're fantastic, but I found myself going back to this one, especially being so new, just listening to it over and over and over, just
Thank you
because
so much. Yeah.
yeah, it bops. But speaking, I guess to the future, is there any plans to kind of drop more music coming up, or is there more plans for touring? Like, what's the future look like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. There is new music on the way. Funnily enough, there was meant to be music before this single dropped. But then the way it worked out, things that aren't in my control. It's a split record between me and Connor Kaminsky. I can say that. Connor Kaminsky is like another, I guess, like modern guitarist based in the UK. I joke that he's like we're the Australian and UK versions of each other, because it's very much like the same kind of vibe, like just seven string riffing, prog, metalcore, playing solo artists and all that stuff. So we've come together to write a split record, and we've got some very heavy features on there that I can't say at the moment. But for that reason, and other reasons, that didn't get released before this one. So we're looking to release that in the first half of next year, and we're very, very excited to do that. Um, yeah, I think for now that is like it's funny like releasing this while sitting on that. Like I definitely think that better music is coming if you're like a fan of progressive metal guitar for sure. And in regards to touring, we have a show coming up on the 29th of December at the Crown and Anchor Hotel in Adelaide. That is a single launch for Arrest. And we realized that I say we as in myself, my band, Stephen Matthews on drums and Kynan Malia on bass. It's the first time that we've played a headline show in Adelaide in over 2 years. The last time that we did was before Rhythmia was released. It was before Animals. It was before everything. It was actually the Pulse Signal launch. Um, and just in 2 years, it's cool to think back and think of how many cool things have happened in that 2 years and how much better we are as a band and performing live because of it. So I'm very excited for that show. And then, this hasn't been confirmed or anything, but I would like to take this show, this headline set, and bring it around to Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane at some point next year as well. Possibly, for that future release that I was talking about before.
Yeah.
But yeah, apart from touring, I guess like it's not really touring in the traditional sense, but I will be traveling to NAMM in January to do some performances there as well. And I'll also be doing a masterclass at Musicians Institute in Hollywood, which I'm very nervous for. I'm very excited to do at the same time. But yeah, these like touring is tough because things just pop up like straight away. So it's hard to say now, but I'm confident that there will be more shows happening in other states very, very soon.
Well, fingers crossed to get back to Brisbane soon. And I didn't get to catch your workshop at Monolith, like your individual one, but I think it was between the breaks, and I didn't want to lose my
Yeah.
spot.
Yeah, no, that's
Kind of
completely
sucked,
fair. I completely understand.
but at the same time, like I really hope you get back soon. I hope Beat It comes out of retirement because that killed. But I literally can't wait for you to come back. I'm really excited. I hope
Thank you, man.
Arrest is doing well. I hope that the future for you looks incredibly bright because, um, you know, being only a few years into it and only doing a couple of years worth of shows, like you guys are tired already. I can't imagine how better it's going to be. You know what I mean?
Thank you, man. Thank you.
All
Appreciate
good.
that.
Well, the rest is streaming now on all platforms. The song, like I said, kicks so much ass. Yeah, fingers crossed the momentum keeps going for you.
Cheers, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, bud.